All right, it's the warm color day. Yesterday was all about cool colors. Well, today our art is all about warm colors. And then the last day we'll be putting those together. So what are we going to think about to help us get in the mindset of warm colors? Are we thinking about the hot, hot sun high in the sky? Are we thinking about a fireplace with hot flames of a fire? Those are the things that will always help you to remember the colors that we use to color them in, and that will help us remember warm colors. When we look at an actual color wheel, we can split the color wheel in half, and on one half will be all of the cool colors. What are those cool colors again? Are you telling me about green? Are you telling me right now about blue? Are you telling me right now about purple? I hope you are. Those are our cool colors. They make us feel nice and cool, cold, maybe even relaxed. These are our cool colors. And we worked only in cool colors yesterday, but today is about the warm colors. So when we're talking warm colors, we're thinking about yellow and orange, and we're thinking about red. So those are the colors I want you to pull out for us to get started. Today, you can use both your markers and your crayons as we decorate our paper strips. That's what we need today, are our paper strips. Get your supplies ready to go, and I'll meet you in a moment. All right, my workspace looks ready to get started. I have picked out my warm colors of crayons and markers. I also included my black marker because that's going to help me with some of my designs, especially on my colored paper where maybe some of my other designs might not show up as well. Also going to get my white crayon out. So I think my white crayon might show up on some of my colored papers. We're not going to use watercolor for this step. We're only going to be drawing on these pieces. You can see I have pink in there too. Pink is one of the shades of red. Pink is the color we get when we add white to our red. So that would make pink a warm color. So if you want to use pink, you can use pink too. So you should have your yellows, your oranges, and your reds all ready to go. I have my black marker because it'll help me with designs on my colored paper, and I have all 7 strips of paper. You should have a red, an orange, a yellow, and 4 white pieces of paper. We're going to be decorating these with different designs today. I want you to color them in and add all of your colorful patterns to them as you go. We're going to use them and we are going to weave them in and out of our large piece of paper after we cut some slits in our painting. That's what those hidden lines are for. But for this part, we're going to focus on the coloring and the designs. I want you to create the designs that you want to create. And what are the things we use to create our designs? We think about our patterns. We think about our lines and our shapes and using our colors. So you can create your patterns by adding lines and colors and shapes to your piece. I want you to think about coloring it in as nice and neat as you can and making them bright and colorful and that they feel nice and warm. You can use both crayons and markers as you work. You can use thin lines and thick lines. I'm using wavy lines right now. But I don't have to do only wavy lines on here. You can do lots of different line styles to fill up your whole piece with some cool patterns and designs. So we need to do this with all of our strips of paper. It might take a little while to fill them in, but I want you to think think back about all the different line styles that we practiced and see if you can fill them up on your own. Maybe if you're not sure what to do next, you can think of a favorite shape you have and make a pattern out of repeating the shapes and coloring them in on your paper. Okay, I think this one looks finished. It's nice and filled in. I've got some patterns and different colors on there, and I can move to the next one. Maybe I'll do one of my colorful ones. On here, some of my colors are going to have a harder time standing out, which is why I think a little black is okay on here. I'm just kind of doing a little stair-steppy line. I want you to think that yours can look like anything you want them to. This is your chance to be creative. Let's see if I was right in that white. Ooh, that white does show up really nicely on the red. It might show up really nicely on the orange too. That yellow might get a little too light of a color for white to really stand out, but I think it looks really cool right there. So on your darker or lighter colors, it's going to be interesting to see what color crayons or markers work best. Now, if you make a mistake on your artwork, you can always flip it over. We're only going to have one side of our artwork showing. So if we make a mistake, that means that flipping over our paper and trying again on the other side can be a solution to feeling better about that problem. Sometimes we make mistakes, like I messed up a couple times on my line, but I still think that looks cool. Sometimes the mistakes that you make weren't what you intended, but maybe what you end up loving about your artwork when you're all finished. Okay, so I'm just using lines and colors and shapes and patterns to fill up my pieces here. I'll make one more with you, and then I want you to do the rest on your own, and we'll come back together when they're all finished. For this one, I'm going to make a lot of squares across my piece. Then I'm going to make like concentric squares. We talk about concentric circles a lot in art. Concentric circles are when you have a circle inside a circle inside a circle. I'm going to do that with these squares here, and I'm going to have a square inside a square inside a square inside a square. And I think I'm going to do it kind of like a rainbow. This one's going to go off the page. It'll be half of one or a quarter of one. I'm going to do it like a rainbow, where I'm going to start with my red, and then I'm going to move to my red orange and my yellow orange, and I'm going to go so that my square in the middle is going to be my yellow square. So these other ones that I made, I really filled them with lots of color. This one is going to have lots of color, but it's going to still have a lot of white space on the paper too, because I'm just going to fill it with my different lines. So the white will show through a bunch, but I think it'll look really cool. I want you to really try to fill your strips of paper as much as you can with your colors, lines, and shapes. we're going to end up with a piece of bright, colorful artwork. Alrighty. So maybe you'll make some concentric squares or circles on your piece. I wonder what shapes you're using. Maybe triangles would be cool. Maybe you might make a strip that looks like fire. Ooh, I like this one. Maybe you'll make a strip that looks like fire, or a strip that looks like the sun. Maybe on this one I'll make some sun shapes. I'll make half circles that go off my paper. That'll be my sun setting and rising on my strip of paper. And then I'll make my rays of sun. Oop. Ooh, I like my sunshine paper. That makes me want to make a fire paper too. So we're thinking about warm colors. Warm, warm, warm. Okay. So maybe I can make some fiery lines. They also kind of look like fall leaves. We went for some hikes this weekend, so these colors also have me thinking about fall. What are the fall leaf colors? Those are the warm colors too. Are these looking like fire shapes to you? I think they look kind of like flames. I said I was only going to make one more with you, but I'm having such a good time. I hope you have a good time when you're making art with me too. Alright, as you work on finishing your strips, I still have 2 more to go, I think. Yep. This is my 5th one. I'm making 7. One that's red, one that's orange, one that's yellow. I have 4 white strips, and on all of them I'm using my limited color palette. It means I'm only letting myself use certain colors, and those certain colors are all the warm colors. So let's see what I have so far. Okay, 2 more to make, and then I'll meet you back here and we'll look at step number 2. Okay, now it's time to put everything together. We have 7 strips filled with patterns and designs made only with our warm colors, our sunny, fiery colors of red, orange, and yellow. We have our backgrounds of fun, beautiful designs created with our cool colors, our green, our blue, and our purple. Now let's talk about what Miss Tess did for you. Do you see how I put some lines that were on our back of our paper? We're going to cut along these lines. And what we're going to do is we're going to end up creating a weaving loom. And you're going to weave your strips of paper in and out of the lines. We go under and over, under and over. And it's going to create this cool checkerboard pattern. Now, in order to cut this, the slits that we need that Miss Tess measured for you, you're going to fold your paper back in half. And you're going to fold it in half just like it was folded in half when it was given to you. So it should already have a good crease. And so really, you're only going to have to cut on one side of the paper, and we're just going to cut along the lines. And when you get to the end of the line, you're going to stop. Remember that our thumb goes in the little hole, our other fingers go in the bigger hole. Our helper hand is going to hold our paper straight, but keep the little helper fingers out of the way. And we're just going to cut slowly as we can up and down the line. Now, if we cut a little bit off the line, that's okay. That's why we hid these lines on the back of our paper. So even if we cut off our lines a little bit, it's not going to make our artwork look any different because these are hidden on the back. So up and down, up and down. My helper hand is holding my paper, and it doesn't have to turn the paper for me today, but it's going to help keep it steady while my other hand does the up and down over all the lines. I'm on my last one. It might take you a different amount of time to cut. We all work at our own pace. So when you're finished, that's when you'll close your scissors and set them out of the way. You could even put them back in your art bag. We're done with our scissors. That was the only job they have for us today. Hopefully you're all finished. And you're going to open your paper back up. You can see that now we have these, we've created a loom. Okay, this loom is what we're going to weave on. Our strips of paper are going to go over and under all the little strips that we've cut that are attached. They're all still part of our painting here. So I can pick any one that I want to weave with first. I'll start with my fiery one. Okay, so in order to weave, it's a process of going over, under, over, under. So I'm going to start going over the first strip. If I want to go under the next one, my helper hand's going to lift it up and I'm going to slide it through. Okay, then it's going to go over this one, every other one, and it needs to go under this one. So my helper hand's going to lift it up. I'm going to get it underneath and I'm going to pull it through. Okay, over this one, that means under this one. And then I'm going to push it up to the top. And that one is going to stay there. So it went over, under, over, under, over, under. That's my first one. Now I'm going to pick my second strip. In whatever order I want to do them in is fine. But this one is going to be the opposite of my flame one. Since I started over, this one I'm going to start by going under. It's going to go under. So helper hand lifts that up. When it goes over this one, I'm going to lift up and it will go under. Then it will go over. So the helper hand is going to help lift up the strips while my other hand works to help slide them down. And then I push it up and it's right next to my fire strip at the top. Okay, next strip. So we just keep going through this whole process with all of our different strips of paper. Okay, this one is going to match the fire one at the top. I'm back to starting with going over. Then I go under, then over, under, over, under. And I line them up so they line up, they should be measured just to line up right at the ends, and then I push it forward. All my strips here are just the right amount to fill up my loom. That's why I measured the lines for you. So after we weave, we should have just the right amount of paper strips to fit inside this loom. So hopefully I measured correctly and we all have it done. So I'm still going over, under, over, under. I'm lifting it up as I go. I'm sliding it forward as I go. So this one matched this one, right? Do you see how it's going every other one? Warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool, warm, cool. Okay, this one matches this one, so it's going to start over, under, over, under, over, under, and slide it up. Okay, hopefully I have room, I think, for my last two. Okay, this one starts under, then over, under, over, under, over. Okay, I did it. I have one last strip and I can see that maybe my lines are not long enough. So if you need to cut a little bit more to make room, cut a little bit more. Maybe have a grown-up be a helper hand. Okay, so my last one. Better make sure my strips are all closed up there so I have room. If your last one doesn't quite fit, that's okay. You could also just maybe glue it on the bottom, but see if you can get it. You can weave it in there too. So under, over, under, over, under. Okay, I did it. I have a weaving that is full of lines and colors and patterns, and it's full of warm colors and then cool colors, warm and cool, warm and cool. I can go all the way down and I can see where all my warm colors are and all my cool colors are. The glue is the last thing we do after we finish weaving. We can see that the ends of our papers that we were weaving are sticking up a little bit. So we're going to add a little bit of glue on the ends. I'm just putting a little dot just to help glue those down so that all of the strips of paper we worked so hard to glue, and turn it around, are going to stay in place. We can also flip it over on the back and we can glue the tabs down underneath too, just because those will be loose too. And after we do that, we should have one whole piece of new paper that we that was woven from our paper strips and our painting. Okay, we're all done. This would be a beautiful piece for you to find somewhere in your house to hang it in. I can't wait to see how your weavings turned out. And I'd be happy to help you if you need some help. We'll be working on these all week. When you're finished, take a picture and upload it to Artsonia, or you can submit it any of the other ways online.